Hello, happy Friday. Today I'm going to talk about body image. It seems like it's a hot topic today with clients, and so I think I'm going to talk about it. This is one that I think is one of the hardest things that you're going to have to experience, especially towards the end stages of recovery where you're in that place and you've gained a very good amount of weight and you physically kind of feel full all the time, but you feel mentally still like, why is my brain still thinking about food all the time? And there's just kind of just this panic of like, this is not working. This is not how this was supposed to go. Oh my gosh, why did I believe this was gonna work? And there's just this like, what do I do now? What do I do now? You got some options, right? It's like, do I run back to my eating disorder? Do I just sort of like stall out and just see if things kind of settle down as far as like the weight gain goes? Maybe my mental hunger will just quiet, which has never happened, right? Ignoring mental hunger, it never just goes away. Should I just push forward and just like keep listening to my mental hunger even though I'm gaining so much weight? Yes, that's the answer. Yes, you should. Because by doing that, I've talked about this, I know with clients all the time, but I think in videos I have as well. When you do that, when you push past that place where you feel like you've gained more weight than you ever imagined and your mental hunger is still very high, and you just keep going and you keep honoring it and listening to it without judgment and without dreaming about and fantasizing about, hopefully this weight will come off. Hopefully with time, I'll lose. If this is overshoot, I'll lose it. Without wishing away what's happening, getting to a place where you're like, you know what, maybe I should do some work around body image. Maybe I should do some work around my identity and being known as this person who looks a certain way when you had your eating disorder, by the way, and do some work around what does the body of mine going to be when I'm fully free? Well, it's gonna be much larger than that body when I was eating disordered. And what is that actually gonna feel like to live in this world in a bigger body? And panic might come over you, and it might be like, I live in this world in a bigger body? That's a recipe for disaster and doom and judgment, and I can't do that, right? Your brain is gonna wanna just push that away. Don't even entertain that idea. So then you really have to do more work. And then that's where you have to be like, okay, hold on, but what if there was a way that I could live in this world and I could be in a bigger body? Again, bigger body, it could be relative. When I say that, I mean relative to where you started before your recovery. And that may be, that bigger body for you may actually, in fact, be a bigger body relative to, the rest of the population. So when I say that, though, it's really just relative to like where recovery has taken you. Recovered body, I'll say, recovering body. And you start to do the work of like, okay, I've always had this identity wrapped up in this smaller version of me, and letting go of that feels very scary and it feels very unsettling. And I don't know what I'm gonna do if I don't have that part, that is part of my identity. And I want you to ask yourself, like, what exactly, other than the size of your body, did that identity bring? Were you a super reliable friend? Were you selfless? Were you patient? Were you fun and spontaneous? Were you like the person that any of your friends would call first because you were just like the best listener and always there and just like knew the right things to say? Probably with that identity, none of those things were going on. Probably, could be wrong. So when you're leaving that identity that's in the smaller body, you're also kind of leaving maybe some things that you didn't love, maybe didn't recognize, but you will become more clear as you start to live a different way, that were going on when you were in that smaller body. Now, when you go over here and you're like, okay, now in this bigger body, what would my identity be? Just a person in a bigger body? And that's the problem, is all you're seeing is that. and your identity is not wrapped up in just the size of your body. But with that bigger body, guess what will be happening? You're gonna have so much more mental space for other people. You're gonna have more to give, right? You're going to have a sense of contentment and peace about yourself, because say you might love yourself. And by doing that, you can now give love, true love, like honest, meaningful love to other people. And they will feel that. You will be able to show up for people last minute because you don't have plans that are so rigid that your disorder has you wrapped up in that you have to say no to people all the time or make up lies why you can't help them. You can actually, if it's feasible and you can actually help them, you'll just help them. And it'll be wonderful. It'll feel so good to just be a normal human who can do those things. With that bigger body, you're not going to live in fear every day of your body changing. That's something that is wonderful that comes with recovery and working on that body image part, is like your body actually could and can and will fluctuate. And it's not because you've already done the work of like detaching your identity from that. It doesn't affect your worth. It doesn't affect your mood. It doesn't affect who you are as a person or how you're going to treat people. It might affect what kind of pants you wear that day or week or month or year or whatever, but it's not going to make you feel like an okay person or a not okay person. And so your daily activities and just the way in which you're carrying yourself throughout the course of a day isn't going to be fueled by this fear of weight gain or this fear of not doing enough or not eating healthy enough or whatever the fears are, kind of like maybe indirectly, essentially fears of weight gain. You're going to be able to then kind of like find out what interests you, and you're going to be able to do things that bring you joy and happiness, true joy and happiness. And so I think it's impossible to talk about body image work without also then talking about what comes with that package. Oftentimes people try to mistake the package of like, or try to merge these two. It's like, okay, well, I want the really small body. I don't really love all the selfish and the kind of self-absorbed stuff that comes with that package. So we're going to leave that. We're going to keep the small body. Don't like the bigger body, but I do want to be that nice person. Let's try to merge those two. And what happens is it doesn't happen. It never happens, right? You can fake it. You can pretend to be like a nice, bubbly person, but like people can see through that. It's not authentic. It's not real. And so having some radical acceptance here, and ACT, I guess they call it acceptance commitment therapy. If you want, I'm not a therapist, but I do remember that. In this case, if you want to practice that of like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to have both, and I just have to accept that. And so I'm going to choose, which is it? What am I going to have? Which one is it? I'm never going to like recover from an eating disorder, stop all restriction and stay in the size body. It's not going to happen. You've got to accept that. Okay. And so since you've now decided, okay, yeah, I do want this better version of myself, I probably should train my brain to learn how to be okay with it. Can you change the world and how they react to, view, or treat you? No. If you're in a larger body, you can't, but you definitely can control the way you're reacting to that, right? You can control the way that you feel about yourself, separate from what other people think of you. And I promise you there will be people in the world, this is true, I promise you it is, that will still love you in any size body. And those are the people I want you to cling on to, be super close to, be vulnerable with, and keep them in your circle, right? Cherish those people. And the other people who can't deal with that, or who you're making uncomfortable because of the size of your body, please, 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 please don't sacrifice your whole life so that those people that shouldn't mean a lot to you are comfortable with you, okay? So kind of like think about these things as you're so determined and dead set on the fact that this bigger body is not okay. What if you thought a different way? What if you started telling yourself it was okay? What if you started envisioning yourself living a life where you were confident and where you could dress how you still wanted to dress and not hide yourself behind clothes because you were insecure? What if you had to fake it till you make it? Usually that is the case with body image. I always say wherever your mind is free, when I always say something along these lines, but I did say this to a client and it rhymes, so I'm gonna say it this way now. Wherever your mind is free is where your body is meant to be. I know it rhymed, and I didn't even plan it when I said it to her. But it's true, right? Like wherever your mind is free from your eating disorder, I really believe is where your body is meant to be. It's where it's gonna be in your best interest to learn to accept that body. Because when your mind is free, it does want to, in fact, take care of you. When your mind is free, it will. Trust that it does. When your mind is free, it doesn't mean, well, there's a quick, what's it called? A quick trip to my grave because I'm going to be so obese if my mind is free. Actually, your mind being free doesn't mean that. Actually, your mind being free means it gets to make choices that are in your best interest, not your eating disorders. Okay? So please work on that. Please do this is where you have to do like body image. Yes, obviously your actions are going to back that up, right? If you're like, okay, I'm going to do this body image work Becky's talking about and envision myself being confident. I'm going to try to imagine a world where like I still have friends and people still like me. And this bigger body, it's hard to imagine, but I'm going to try, and you'll see as you do it that yes, this is in fact true. Make sure your behaviors are backing it up, but a lot of this really is just changing your thoughts, recognizing them and retraining them to think a different way. Sorry, I just had an elastic snap in my mouth. Gross. I was going to say one other thing. What was it? Oh, when it comes to presenting yourself, okay, let's say you're in that stage of recovery. You're like, I don't want to be seen. The holidays are coming up. I just like, what can I even wear to hide the weight that I've gained? I know people are going to say something to me, and if they don't to me, they're going to say it behind my back. And you're going to show up to these things. You're going to be so uncomfortable. You already decided you're going to be so uncomfortable. People are going to judge me. I don't like this. Guess what? When people are meeting you and you're carrying yourself in that regard, they then feel uncomfortable for you because you're so uncomfortable. And so when you're going out in public or you're meeting people, friends, whatever, and you're like, you know what? I'm not feeling my most confident, but I can fake that I'm very confident. Yes, I've gained a lot of weight. Yes, I'm wearing clothes that, fit me different, or different styles of clothes, or whatever it is. But I'm going to show up and I'm going to focus on making the person I'm talking to feel great. I'm going to focus and I'm going to make sure that this person I'm talking to knows I care about them. And I can't say I can promise you, because I don't know everybody out there in the world, but most human beings are going to love that about you. They're going to appreciate that about you. They're going to love the way that they feel when they're around you. And it's going to have nothing to do with the size of your body. So if you don't make it a big deal, I really don't think others are going to make it the deal that you think they're going to make it. Okay? So again, when you go out, stop focusing on yourself. Make yourself feel fake confident. That's shoulders back. Wearing clothes that aren't these giant things that are hiding your body. Making eye contact with people. Again, starting conversations, engaging in conversations, asking questions. All of those things are going to give you a completely different experience when you go see people versus how am I going to hide? How am I going to stay in the background? How am I going to avoid people from judging me? How am I going to do this? I'm just not going to go. I can't do this. There's such a contrast there. And I promise you, going into the holidays, if you can practice what I'm talking about, and I know it's so much easier said than done, I know that. But if you can just start practicing it now, you'll have a completely different experience when you run into people you haven't seen in a long time, whether it be family, extended family, friends, you name it. It'll be a much more positive experience. So that's my message, my very long video today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.